This is my first morning here in Turkey. I'm actually on my way now to get some authentic Turkish breakfast. And I'm definitely gonna get some baba ganoush for lunch. So I'm getting a fresh squeezed orange juice. She's making orange juice from scratch. I don't know if you guys can see it. Yeah, maybe Buddy will move out the way, but yeah. So the orange juice is made from scratch, which is pretty fascinating. I just ordered it. I literally just ordered it and she's making it right now. So this breakfast is called kahvaltı tabağı. The G is silent. It's a traditional Turkish. I have fresh squeezed orange juice and I have Turkish coffee. I can't wait to taste it. Oh. Let me try this Turkish coffee. Oh yeah. So the Turkish coffee comes with sugar or without sugar. I got it with sugar. Try this. So you're supposed to scoop the food with the bread, like the bread is a spoon. Yeah. Not bad so far. This is pretty good. This is my first morning. Hold on, let me bite this real fast. This is my first morning here in Turkey, and the weather feels really great. People wake up really early, like really early. I heard people up this morning around 3 o'clock this morning, starting their day. Also, the trash comes at an odd time. It comes late at night. The trash pickup was like around, I want to say, 10 o'clock at night. Now, it could have been just that they were getting to my location around 10 o'clock, but I don't know if that's common for most people. Obviously, you guys can let me know. I've seen a lot of Turkish YNs. They look like boy band members, but you know, they probably got that thing on them. I'm gonna finish my breakfast and we'll do some walking around talking. So this place is Taksim Mosque. It's actually not a traditional mosque, it's not an ancient mosque. It's more of a modern mosque, from what the guy was telling me. And it's also very controversial because this area in Taksim Square, you can see behind me, is seen as a secular, non-religious area. And they built this mosque. They opened this mosque like in 2021, I think he said, 2021. So it's seen as a very controversial mosque. But the area itself is historic, but the mosque itself is not historic. But I love the weather out here. I got this shirt, this polo, I thrifted it a long time ago, and I would never wear this in Bangkok because by the time I got from my room to the elevator, it'd be dark brown. But the heat here in the Middle East is always dry. Well, this is like almost Eastern Europe, but the heat here is always dry. It's never humid. That's one thing I like about Middle Eastern heat. I mean, you can tell too by the complexion of the people that live here. They just have really great bronze skin. The more you get closer to Europe, though, they look more, they have more lighter skin. It's kind of like the difference between South Thailand and Middle and Northern Thailand, if you think about it, the skin complexion. But this is a beautiful place. So I also forgot that Turkey is also known for its cosmetics surgeries. I've seen a lot of men and women walking around with bandages on their nose. At first I was like, people must be busting their ass on these sidewalks, because the sidewalks are definitely like bust your ass type sidewalks. But then I remembered a lot of people come here to get nose jobs, their lips done, Botox. A lot of men come here to get their hairline done because their hairline is jacked up. So I definitely forgot Turkey is known for its cosmetics. You actually see a lot of people, especially in the touristy areas. Hello. You see a lot of people, especially in the touristy areas, walking around with bandages on their nose. I just went inside the mosque. I actually filmed it with my glasses because they had camera crews in there. And I actually had to take my shoes off in there, and I wasn't sure what was going on. So I didn't want to be that guy, you know? Yes. I'm actually trying to find somewhere to sit down so I can talk to the camera. But so far, everything here is beautiful. Look at this view. I'm not gonna lie, I would not mind living in parts of Europe that kind of mixed with the Middle East. It's just really laid back, so easygoing. And I do, like, since I've been living in Bangkok, I've definitely gotten used to, let me get some better lighting. I look dark. Since I've been living in Bangkok, I've definitely gotten used to walking a lot. And that is something that I've learned to actually like about traveling, is walking, you know? Especially being here, you can take public transportation. Public transportation is actually pretty easy and cheap and very accessible. But so far, everywhere I've walked. The most I've walked so far is 15 minutes. You know, I get them steps in. Some of us need to walk more. You know? So I finally found somewhere to sit down so I can just record. Great lighting and everything. This place is called Taksim Kahve, Kahvim, I think it is. It's like a play on the word coffee, but Kahve, I guess. Unless that's how you say coffee in Turkish, I guess. I don't know. I have absolutely no idea. But one thing I would say so far, I mentioned it earlier already, I'm literally sitting in the heat with I mean, you see the material, this polo. If I was in Bangkok, by the time I put this on and left my room and walked in the hallway and got to the elevator, it would have been dark brown already. I mean, I already said it before, but I'll reiterate it. I love the heat in the Middle East. Like I said, Turkey's not necessarily in the Middle East, it's kind of Eastern Europe. I guess, like, I don't know, but I really love the heat here. It's dry heat. No humidity. I mean, it gets humid, but the humidity is not hot, you know? I love it. So far today, I've had 3 conversations. 2 women from Turkey, 2 Turkish women, and 1 Turkish man. Well, actually, I've talked to 4 Turkish men. 1 Turkish YN. I actually talked to him. He took my pictures for me. I was asking him, do you know how to take pictures? Because I mean, I was gonna ask this lady that was walking by, but I figured, being in a country that is extremely conservative, um, one, you don't want to just approach women any type of way. Number two, they still hold, even though they have some modern values, they still hold deeply traditional values, and their culture is deeply traditional. Also, it's a predominantly Muslim country, so you got to understand that. Just putting all that together, I thought it'd be uh, much easier to ask uh, the Turkish YN, to take my picture because he obviously knows how to use technology. He obviously knows what's up. So, yeah, he took pictures for me. Pretty chill kid. I asked him, what does he do for fun? Like, obviously, every different country has his own kind of like scene, and he's young. He's too young to go to clubs. So I asked him what does he do for fun, and he said, hang out with friends. That's all he said. So that's pretty good. I mean, you ask the average kid in America what they do for fun, it's all kind of shit. Most of it's degenerate. But I mean, he said hang out with friends. It sounded so pure. But yeah, based on my observations today, right? Today and yesterday I did a little bit exploring, but it's mostly just to find local food spots so I can budget travel, so I wouldn't spend so much money. One thing I do want to get better at, because this is not the last time I'm going to be traveling outside of Bangkok to other countries. My goal, I don't know if I said it before, but my goal is to travel to every country in under 4 years. There's, I believe, 197 countries. Give or take, some countries are recognized as countries, but they're not necessarily countries. I don't know. I mean, whatever, right? I don't make the rules, but they're recognized as countries, but they're not necessarily countries. But you got to get a passport stamp to go there. So, in my opinion, if I got to get a passport stamp to go there, I would consider a country. If I wanted to, break that record, but it's everyone else who's after 20, I think 10, that's traveled to every country, has traveled to 197 countries. Everyone before that, I think they only traveled to 195 or 194 because two countries weren't recognized internationally as countries. It's like, I don't know who makes these rules. I mean, I'm pretty sure it's the governing body of like the world or whatever. Every major nation has to recognize your countryhood, I guess you could say. It's just like when them niggas decided Pluto wasn't a planet. Now, when I was growing up, Pluto was a planet, and then one day it just wasn't. And I was asking them, who told y'all that it's okay to like not make Pluto a planet? But I mean, like I said, I'm not in these meetings, so I can't voice my opinion. One thing I have seen here, and I'm all over the place, this is what happens when you have ADHD. So one thing I have seen here is a lot of people filming content. So actually, when I went into the mosque, there was a lot of men dressed in traditional Muslim garb, and also men in tailored suits with these pins. They look like political campaign pins or whatever. And so I didn't want to walk too deep in there. I mean, people was walking deep in there, but I like to observe before I jump into something, so I didn't walk too deep in there. They also had a bunch of G-Wagons parked on the backside. They were all black, so I was like, yeah. And then they had obviously private security. Or I guess you could say our equivalent of Secret Service from the States. They had those dudes. They carry MP5s. MP5 is a submachine gun, those that don't know. And also I noticed that too. In America, you'll see police officers carrying long guns, ARs and stuff like that, shotguns or whatever, like around, federal, house buildings and stuff. And maybe at events, you'll see long guns, police with long guns, if you've ever been to like a major festival in your city or whatever. But here, nah, the police literally walk around with submachine guns. They carry a sidearm and they walk around with submachine guns, which is pretty crazy. Also, one thing I noticed too, from just being in the military and observing, they carry their sidearms a little bit further back from where they're able to reach, which I don't understand. I don't know if that's something unique to here. It wasn't just a few people I saw that. I actually watched them at the airport, and their sidearms are a little bit further back on their hip. I don't know if that's like how they're taught how to shoot, or how they're taught how to, I don't know, or how they're taught from the shoot from the hip. I don't know. I guess it's a thing, but yeah, they do carry they got them things on them, so don't be acting stupid out here. Okay, one thing I wanted to talk about was um, Turkish men and women. The differences I noticed. Obviously, this is just my opinion. This is based on my observation. Like I said, I've only had a few. I've had about 5 or 6 conversations total. I talked to 2 women, and I talked to 3 or 4 men. So that's about 6, yeah. So, and 1 YN. So that's about 6 total. Um, One thing I would say about the Turkish Jews is that they're like very, 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 from my observation, not all. They're very, and I think it's also relegated to a specific age range, right? They're very diverse, right? Some of them are some of them are super social. Um, they're talking, shaking hands, um, and they also have a very strong sense of pride. Actually, their sense of pride and the way they carry themselves, it reminds me of African men, you know? They always have their chin up. Their head and their chin's always up, you know? It's just that, like, they're always walking like they're above. Not in a condescending manner, but, it's just that, I don't know how to explain it. I don't have the words, I don't have the vocabulary to articulate. But I have noticed that some are more traditional and some are more reserved. They actually have a balance of both. I've noticed. So there were times when I was in a cafe and attractive women walked by, and where I'm from, people are going to look at the woman's like body. They don't necessarily do that. They don't look at her. They don't look at each other like, damn. They don't do any of that. Um, Now a few will glance, but I noticed that they don't do that. Like I said, cultural differences everywhere you go. I'm not saying that they're better than anyone else, but that's just what I've observed. Yeah, I was a weirdo in the corner watching them do shit. Like, and they're also very trendy when it comes to fashion and style. Very trendy when it comes to fashion and style and fitness. I will say, yeah, like I said, certain age group, older men not so much when it comes to fitness. Oh, okay, general fitness, yes. But also, I think that can also be, you know, a result of how they get around here. They walk a lot, and their diet too. So that can contribute a lot. Diets are actually cultural. Where you come from, you have a certain diet that you eat, certain foods that are more beneficial and less beneficial for you. Um, as many of you know, a lot of people that I know that live in Bangkok, you know the difference when you eat in America and you eat in Thailand. You notice that already. But yes, they're very trendy when it comes to fashion. Also fitness. A lot of dudes are in shape, like general shape, and a lot of older dudes are just general shape. Um, but yeah, they're pretty cool. I have seen some dudes that are more overprotective. The way they walk with their women. Obviously I couldn't tell if some of them were, or all of them were in romantic relationships. It could have been siblings. It could have been, I don't think you would see a Turkish man and a Turkish woman as friends walking. I don't think you would see that, but maybe it got to be some kind of family member or an extended family. But the way they walk with their women is very protective. It's just body language, right? I noticed that. The women also, um, they have a very, very interesting balance, right? So the women dress more, and I'm gonna use the word modest. I don't want y'all jumping down my throat, but when I use the word modest, I'm relating it to the fact that they're a predominantly Muslim country, and we know Christianity and Islam have very strict, modest standards. You see a lot of women walking around here with the traditional Muslim, Islamic garb for women. I don't know the proper names for it, so forgive me. But also, you see women walk around here with like leggings, biker shorts, dresses that have slits all the way up to their like you can. They have dresses that have slits where you can literally see their nana bits. So it's like it's a spectrum. But also too, even though they dress more provocative than traditional Muslim um, women, or what you would consider modest, they don't act the way that they dress. If that makes sense. Like I said, I'm not I'm just talking, so I didn't have time to like put a script together to articulate what I'm saying. So if you feel offended by what I'm saying, I don't give a fuck. But they they don't act that way, right? They don't make long eye contact with you. I've been complimented by a few women, but they won't. It didn't feel sexual, and that, you know what I mean. It the compliments that they gave me was the same when men complimented me. It was just, it was just nice. They were just being nice. Um, but also too, like they uh they have huge family values. Like one of the ladies I was talking to, I asked her dating here. How is dating here? Because one thing I did notice is that a lot of the Turkish women, um, a lot of the Turkish women who are single are a little bit older than what you would necessarily see single women in a Islamic country. I think she was 32 and she had been in one relationship in 32 years. And like I said, they're independent, modest, um, in their behavior and the way they carry themselves, not necessarily in their attire, but they also have traditional values. But they also don't just like sleep around unless they're like in a committed relationship or married. So like you would literally come here and you'll see the way they dress and you'll think like they like down for the get down, but that's not how they roll. And I was actually asking one of the men about dating here, and he was basically saying like unless you're a celebrity or like rich, he said you don't have like obviously all of us are conditioned to carry ourselves based on where we're from, right? There's no exemption, right? Everyone is a product of their environment, right? The men here don't necessarily like. I mean, obviously they're still men, so they still want to clap cheeks, but that's not their like. They don't go on weekends to clap cheeks. They go out to hang with friends. It's just different. It's just really different. It's a very interesting balance. Um, yeah, the Turkish women are, I would say, they're more of a mixture of like, if I could explain it in any way possible, I would say they're a mixture of grace and fire. It's like a flame that you can feel the heat from, but it's covered up. I don't know how to explain it. And the men are more like I said, they're protective, but not overbearing. Overbearing. They have like a, um, a more refined sense of masculinity. You know, like they don't have to wear their toughness on their sleeve. You know, when the Turkish YNs here, they look like boy band members. They look like the most safest thugs you can ever see in your life. Yeah, and also they actually have for it to be a predominantly Muslim country, you can hear the Islamic prayer call in the back. For a predominantly Islamic country, they have a huge balance between men and women in a lot of positions. I've seen more female police officers than I have seen male police officers. But also too, that could be a result of the lower levels of crime that you would see here versus like places like the States. But also too, I mean, I'm not use America as a comparison. It's not an anti-America because I don't do that shit, but it's more so. I mean, that's where I'm from, so I can only relate it to where I'm from. But also too, I've only been in Istanbul, and I haven't been anywhere else. I haven't been to more rural or traditional areas. There might be a complete different balance. Definitely, Istanbul is more, I guess you could say, Europeanized, um, Westernized, Europeanized, whatever you want to call it, than most places. Yeah, they actually have pride flags here in places. So they're actually, I mean, the country's like I said, it's a mixture of conservatism and tradition, but also progressiveness. But it's not out loud, right? Um, I've seen a lot of, I've actually seen I've seen a normal, I said normal amount of gay people. I've seen gay people here, um, or LGBTQ, or the people that took majority of took a piece of the alphabet. But they yeah, no one gives them crazy looks. Even some of the women who wear like more flamboyant hairstyles, like red hair or purple hair or green hair. No one's looking at them crazy. It's like no one cares about what anyone else has going on. And the only reason I'm shocked is because, like I said, this is a predominantly Muslim country. We know normally what the tone is. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting balance. Yeah. So I'm just yapping right now. But one thing I also want to bring up is how much I enjoy solo traveling. This is my first destination outside of Bangkok. Well, outside of Thailand, because Pattaya was my first destination outside of Bangkok. But this is my first destination outside of Pattaya, outside of Thailand. And I woke up this morning with a plan to go to a place that have a more traditional Turkish breakfast. And as I was walking, I passed multiple breakfast spots, and I ended up stopping at one because the server's really nice, and I ended up eating breakfast there. Um, One thing that's what I like about solo traveling. You can just adjust, make plans. You can abandon plans at a whim, and just do whatever you want because it doesn't matter. You know, you don't have to, you know, rendezvous with someone else to come up with another plan or, you know, another movement or, let's do this, let's not do this. Let's like you can just move how you want. That's what I really enjoy about solo traveling. But so far today, I'm gonna I checked out the mosque. I've gotten footage on that. Also, I could have got a lot more footage, but I actually been enjoying myself. Like, I don't want this to be completely a trip where I'm just focused on being in front of the camera or behind it. You know, I want to enjoy. So I got to find that balance because I do want to make good content so you guys can see, my travels through my lens. Um, but yeah, today's been really great so far. It is only 12:13, so I have plenty of more time. I'm actually gonna go to walk around the square in Taksim Square, and I'm actually gonna explore some places over here. So yeah, talk to you later.